All right. Welcome to our planning commission meeting for May 24th, 2023. We have 6 commissioners present. I've asked Commissioner Lilly to give our opening thought.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With Memorial Day coming up this weekend, I found a nice quote by Abraham Lincoln that says, "Honor to the soldier and sailor everywhere who bravely bears his country's cause. Honor also to the citizen who cares for his brother in the field and serves, as best he can, the same cause. Honor to him less only than to him who braves for the common good the storms of heaven and the storms of battle." I have a tender part of my heart towards Memorial Day weekend and the sacrifice that so many have made so that we have so many of the freedoms that we do. And I just am grateful for this chance to share this thought with the committee today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Next is item 3. This is consent agenda. Is there any discussion over the minutes from our previous meeting? Okay, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Second. Second. Commissioner Warner. All in favor by yes.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item 4. This is a public forum. I'm going to be online, do we? This is an opportunity for the public to address us for any issues not on the agenda. You're here for our agenda item. We'll get to that here in a minute. Is there anybody who wants to speak to us about something not on the agenda?
We don't have anyone online.
Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item 5. This is a public hearing for Hyatt Creek Plat B. Applicant Tyler Duran on behalf of Hockman Holdings is seeking preliminary plat approval for the 100-lot attached townhome style single-family subdivision located approximately 1130 South, 1960 West, and Utah County parcel number 290230048. And guessing Michael's got her presentation on this one.
Things there. Make co-host.
So tonight, our public hearing is going to be on the preliminary plan for Hyatt Creek Plat B. Just to orient you a little bit here. This is I-15 right here. Is this 1130? Is that what that says? 1130 South, 1950 West here. And it's this parcel right here that they are proposing. So it's Utah County parcel 29-023-0048. The applicant's proposing 100 attached single-family housing units in a townhome style format. One thing to note, this project relies upon the infrastructure of the Red Bridge project just to kind of the northeast here, and so the infrastructure needs to come through to there. And so I just made note of that this cannot receive final plat and recording until that infrastructure is in place and then been inspected and approved. But we can proceed with preliminary. So I just wanted to let that be known to you. The applicant received a zone change to the RMF 10 zone back in March of 2022. One thing that this approval is contingent upon is getting the storm drainage facility to be used as open space. And that is something that City Council can make that determination on. As you can see there's some amenities that the applicant has proposed. There's a clubhouse, 2 pavilions, the continuation of the regional trail system, 2 pickleball courts, and then the natural open space surrounding that area. This is the layout of the preliminary plan as it stands now. The majority of the amenities are in this section here. You can see in black, that's a pavilion, another pavilion. The clubhouse will be here, pickleball courts here, and the trail extends along here. The detention basin area that we mentioned earlier is right here. And this just shows that same thing in color and then points out the detention basin area. As you can see, they've proposed some improvements around the area with some walkways that would extend around it, trees on the outside edges there, and then walkways that join it from the adjoining streets. This is just some pictures of what the amenities are proposed to be and look like. So this artist rendition of the clubhouse and kind of a layout view of the clubhouse, which again is situated right here on kind of the northwestern portion of the development. Pickleball courts again. This is the creek, and you can't really see much of the trail on this little view, but it's, if I'm not wobbling, that the trail goes right along here and then off the page right there. This is what the housing product is that they're proposing to do. And then finally, staff recommends a positive approval to the city council for the preliminary plan of this request for Hyatt Creek Plat B. And as normal, this recommendation includes resolving all staff red lines and concerns that may arise, and then also obtaining approval from the city council for that detention basin area to be used as open space. Any questions?
You're saying right now the preliminary approval on this is what they're looking for.
Correct.
Due to the infrastructure that's got to be put in.
They just can't record the final plat.
Okay.
Until that infrastructure is put in and inspected. And from what I understand, that's underway to some degree.
So refresh me, because the Red Bridge, as my mind memory holds, that the Red Bridge is supposed to be something like 1,000 units when everything's built out of there.
Red Bridge, I believe, is somewhere in the realm of 1,200 units.
Plus another 100 units. My concern with all this high density housing we are going here is there's the pipe, the drains, the water, everything underground, but we have no infrastructure for traffic for all these people that are going to be put in this place.
Well, and that's part of the infrastructure with the Red Bridge. They'll be putting in the increased line. They'll be widening the street. Hyatt Creek will be responsible for the frontage in front of their property. Red Bridge actually has part of their development here as well. And so they will be responsible for doing their portion of widening the road here. And so entities will share in that.
So we got a two-lane overpass from this side of I-15 to that side of I-15. Now we're gonna put 15,000 people over there, you know.
Right.
And
I live in this town, so trying to navigate your way around here anymore is ridiculous.
you show up there at 5 o'clock already, and it's pretty
Yeah.
bad
Yeah,
from the condos. It's back clear to the condos often with traffic.
I come back from San Way on the off ramp right there, and I'm almost hanging in the freeway there because you can't get off on 8 South, you know. Now we're gonna dump this many more people over here. I'm not happy with the build out we've got. Everything's high density everywhere we go, and you know, Payson used to be a lovely little town to live in. Now it's just a congested mess, you know. So that's my 2 cents.
Red Pine, you guys work for Red Pine? Okay, and you guys built the townhomes that are on the frontage road as well. Yeah, I think you built a nice product. I think it's a good looking community. How far, if we go back to the picture of the storm drain situation, the colored picture, how far off the back fence or porch before the hill starts sloping down are we thinking before it turns into sloping down into the,
Are you saying how far off of the individual paths?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have that readily available. Tyler, do you know that?
I mean, even just an idea.
Yeah, so, roughly, so you're looking at those units like next to that space. So that, what looks like a unit actually includes a 10-foot backyard. So there's a 10-foot fenced backyard, and then there's sidewalk. I think we put a 4-foot sidewalk behind that 10-foot backyard, and then the slope would start, after the back of that walk. So at least 15 feet from the back of the home before it would slope down.
Okay. Because my only concern is, obviously, we can set aside open space as drainage. We don't generally do it. And I just would hate to see this become a habit, especially where we're doing the high density. These people, entry-level homes have turned into a box of air for people because that's what they can afford. And I feel bad for the fact that we cram them in there so tight, as previously mentioned, but also take away their green space, the space for them to stretch their legs. And so I guess my concern is, in conjunction with Commissioner Morgan, is in addition to the high density, we're also taking away the natural space that should be available for these communities. I appreciate the fact that there's pavilions and pickleball courts. I would just like to see a little more open space and not try to cram it in between the buildings as a storm drain, especially in high water years like we have this year. We're training the kids to go back there and play, and in high water years, there could be water back there.
One thing to note with the city council approval of the storm drain is it has to be, it can't be more than 5-to-1 slope. And so it's going to be relatively flat area there. But yes, if it's a high water year, a lot of rain, snow, whatever, I mean, you're going to have canoes out there instead of soccer balls. But
So tell me about the drainage. Where does the water come in? Where's it coming from, and where does it drain out? Or is it just retaining?
that's retaining the water for the development. Otherwise, drainage that's natural is going to go along the creek.
So this is coming off the streets and the driveways.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
And we're not discharging any into the stream.
No, that needs special permitting to be able to do that sort of a thing.
So excuse the dumb questions here, but I'm sure you've looked at parking. They have to meet the code and the amount of parking. I'm just questioning, I can't tell from the drawing what the width of those streets are. Is it going to be permitted to park on the street? Is that something the HOA is going to be limiting?
Yes, I believe the right of way is the typical local street for the city. I believe it's 60 feet. And so it would follow any city streets as far as parking, meaning you wouldn't be able to park in winter months there for snowplow and things like that. Each of these units has a 2-car garage and a 2-car driveway area. So they'd have total off-street parking of 4.
And then when you showed us the elevation of the units, the sample of what the units would look like. I noticed in the front yard, there are trees. Is that specified in the plan, or is that just an artist rendition?
That's an artist rendition there. They'll have to follow the plan or the city's code for the amount of greenery and things like that. So
Recognize that by design, these condominium projects have great big garage doors on the street and not much else, so you have a streetscape of garage doors, which I don't really love. I recognize that's what's being done. My concern is that in 20 years, how's this development going to live in the community? Is it going to be an asset in 20 years, or is it going to become an eyesore in 20 years? And so anything that we can specify at the time of development that will tend to keep the quality of the development up over the years, I think we want to do that. So these questions that Commissioner Rowley's asked and some of the other questions we're talking about here, I think are worth looking pretty hard at. Because we want this development to be an asset 20 years from now.
Agreed. Do you have specific recommendations that you would want to forward to the council as part of a recommendation of any?
Well, yeah, let's do 80 instead of 100. No, that's not happening.
Yes, one question I have in regards to driveways, the ones previously built, I do like these as far as landscape and view much better than the apartments that are going across the street from the previously built. And also I like these better than the tan Ridgestone condos. And so these are an improvement from that. I do think they will be an asset if done correctly, more so than an apartment or a condo. But the fact that the previous, I know this is water under the bridge, just want to bring it up so we don't make the same mistake. The previous ones that were built, a lot of the driveways you back right out onto the frontage road. And that was a mistake because that road's gonna need to be widened. And we've run out of room to widen it now because the apartment on the other side is so stinking close to the road. And so I just think we plan for the future. Let's really make sure that we have a way for people to get around and improve the quality of life here instead of it turning in just to a beehive that's hard to get around in. And I think that we take a good long look at where cars are coming and going. And then again, back to the main reason we're discussing this, the natural open space. I think there needs to be a little bit more of it than just a storm drain area.
I agree. Fine, work with Commissioner Rowley as well, but if we're gonna use that as open space, there needs to be a specific plan on how it's, could be maintained as open space and how to keep it usable instead of taking X amount of time out of the year, we can't use this as open space, and so. Even, where it's located, how happy are the homeowners gonna be on that middle strip that they have kids playing baseball or football down, the back there, and you have problems with broken windows and things like that, because that's where they've got to play ball or whatever else, just for the location, so. I think to do justice to the neighborhood, we need to look at how that open space is used, and again, that's city council's decision, and just would highly recommend that they look at that is there a specific plan on how to use that open space and keep it usable.
And also Red Pine, you guys are probably going to be building a lot more things in Payson. You guys own a lot more land down there, down that dead end road. And so I don't want to start open the can of worms of us using every single storm drain and counting that as open space.
Other questions, comments? Now it is open public hearing. We need to open a public hearing on item 5.1.
I move we open public hearing.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor by yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Would the applicant like to step up and address us before we open up to anybody else, or any comments or? Steps from Mike?
Yeah. Yes, please. We want to hear from you guys too.
Yeah. So I definitely understand the concern with the storm drain. I think that definitely makes sense. One thing, the way that storm drain pond is designed, so there's retention and detention ponds. That's a retention pond. I'm not saying that there's never going to be water in it. In a big event, there will be water in it, but it's designed to only have water when there's a storm event, and then that water will drain. So I'm not saying that it's not a storm, it is, but the way they're designed is if there's a big event, it'll fill up and then it'll drain out. So it's not like it's one of those ponds you see maybe in the south, a detention pond that's always full of water. This isn't going to be a permanent pond. So, but other than that, yeah, I do think it's worth noting. So, yeah.
And we have at least one person online. Is there anybody else that wants to address us about this item?
Raise an hand or anything. They like no.
Okay. There's no further comment.
I move we close public hearing.
A motion. Second. Morgan, all in favor by yes?
Yes.
Okay. Commission discussion, we've had some already. Is there any additional discussion prior to making your recommendation?
I would hope that some of these comments that we have made of concerns will find their way into the hands of the city council before they make a decision on their side. I'm not sure that I can sit down here knowing the law and knowing where we are in the process of this kind of thing. I don't know how much the planning commission can do to push for change in this particular plan. The city council has, I think, a great deal more leeway than we do. So I would hope that this would spark in the city council some discussion, some thought before they take their vote to do whatever they decide to do.
Comments? Anybody willing to make a motion? I will make a motion that we recommend to the city council that they approve the preliminary plat for the Hyatt Creek Plat B, taking into consideration the amount of open space and the use of that open space and whether we use that storm drain to count toward that open space. Just making sure that we're setting very clear expectations on how that open space is to be filed and used. So just to make it a better community and neighborhood for those people that will be living in the area.
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor by yes,
Yes.
and any opposed?
No opposed.
Okay. Noted, we have 2 no's, 4 yeses. You get that?
Who are the no's?
Okay, Commissioner Rowley, Commissioner Morgan with no. Okay, that will move on to city council. They can kind of work with it from their end. Number 6, commission staff reports. Any additional items?
No, nothing additional. I know that Jill wants to bring you an update of projects that are going on, things like that, things that you may never see, but you might see them in the community. She wants to bring that to you. I think she's leaning towards the second meeting in June for that. So that's a little FYI for you. We have a few other projects that potentially will be coming to planning commission shortly. And then we also have some code amendments that will be coming shortly as well. The state legislature made some changes and some of those changes, for example, have to do with subdivisions. They won't even come to planning commission and city council anymore because it's an administrative action. So those will be coming code changes and they should be coming this year. I'm not sure when.
So with that, and knowing that some of that's not going to be coming for preliminary and final plat for the subdivision, is there a way we could look at and amend, as Commissioner Moore pointed out, to get rid of some of that garage forward design? We put that in the code to where we see more aesthetically pleasing streetscapes and stuff like that, because if it's not changed in the code, then it doesn't get brought up, because unless they're doing like 30 or something like that, we're not going to see it. And so
there is some flexibility for that. We'll definitely go over that with legal staff before it's adopted, that sort of a thing. But there also is some legislation in state law that talks about how much you can limit design features of what they consider single family homes, from single homes, twin homes, duplexes, and townhome style development. So most of it is more easily regulated with like a planned residential development, things like that.
Kind of funny that people in Salt Lake and Washington DC can tell us what Payson houses look like.
That seems to be the move, the direction things are moving.
So when these changes you talked about go into effect, and we have even had this discussion that we had tonight.
No.
the city council have addressed the stormwater issue, right? Because that would be.
That one is in our city code and it has nothing to do with approval of a subdivision. And so that is at the discretion of city council. So that would, in that case, yes, go to the city council. Zone changes, planned residential developments, any kind of the things that might have annexation involved. Those sort of things would be the things that get public hearings and the like here, and then move on to city council. So this body is intended primarily to be an advisory body to the city council on land use matters. And then the city council is primarily intended to be a legislative body making the laws and enacting ordinances and then things like that for the city. And then performing their duties as council members to administer the finances and the budget and things like that. Administrative matters are things, at least in land use related things, are what state law is trying to remove from city councils and planning commissions. That doesn't mean it's, for example, it doesn't necessarily have to be a staff decision. It could be whoever's designated as the land use authority. However, it does say it cannot be city council. On a few matters, it's possible to be planning commission. So
when would we have seen, what step would we have had a discussion about this particular development then in the future?
you would have, so this had the zone change a year ago. So you would have seen some sort of concept layout and things like that, and the proposed layout of the development, and that would be where you'd be able to have your influences on a recommendation for a zone change.
Yeah, it was very important.
Or prior to that, this property had been annexed into the city, and that would have had some influence there too.
But really, the only influence we have is what the zone is.
Right.
Therefore, what's.
And the only other thing I could say is if there are specific plans or things done for different areas, planning commission can and should be involved in those sort of things. So, but that's also something that us as staff want to do is keep the planning commission involved, especially as these administrative things move elsewhere. We want you to be much more involved in the planning of updates to our plan and updates to our codes and things like that. And so that way you're knowledgeable about those things and you can make a good recommendation. So.
Any question for staff? Entertain a final motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion for a second. All in favor by yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, Mike.
You.